We're live.
Welcome back, everyone. Episode 55 of Kids Deserve It. We hope you've been enjoying our weekly chats with game changers and from around the country. Also, don't forget, you can check us out on iTunes.
And if you haven't picked up a copy of Kids Deserve It yet, you can pick up one on Amazon today. And while you're waiting for it to come in, you can definitely get the Kindle version. It'll drop down to $2.99, so you can get it cheaper to start reading before your paper copy comes in.
Also, don't forget to join our Kids Deserve It chat on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and check out Todd's Periscope right before the chats at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Todd and I will also be hosting Sat Chat on January 24th. It's an early start. I think it's like a 5 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, so keep an eye out for that as well. This week, we got another great guest, but first we want to introduce ourselves. I am Adam Welcome, Director of Innovation and Technology in the Bay Area of California.
I'm Todd Neslony, elementary school principal in Navasota, Texas. And here with us this week, we have Roman Novak. So Roman, thanks for being here this week.
Thank you for having me.
We want to remind all of our viewers to participate in social media. We love seeing the tweets you send out about the shows, whether they're live or you're catching the recording, using the hashtag #KidsDeserveIt.
So Roman, we got a few questions for you. So besides that cold weather in Canada, for those that don't know about you, tell us about yourself.
So I've been an educator for about 13 years, and this is my second year. I'm on secondment, which is basically my school district has loaned me over to the government, and I'm working on policies and programs all around student success for grades 7 to 12. So that's what I've been working on for the past year and a half now.
How does
Nice.
something like that even come up? Like, is it an opportunity that happens often in Canada, or because I mean that's so different than what we have here?
Yeah, so in Canada, just like you guys have states, we have provinces, and education is not federally run, so it's the provinces. So in Ontario, where I am, with the Ministry of Education, so with our government, we, usually on a cycle of 3 years, they have a certain amount of jobs that are reserved for people in school districts that want to sort of have a different experience and help shape education. So I applied, went through the process, and was lucky enough to get this experience. So I'm loving the journey.
Awesome. So what is something that you are really proud of accomplishing in the past year?
I think in the past year, a lot of the work, every school district has what we call a student success leader, and I'm basically the liaison with those leaders. And I think a lot of the programs and meetings that we've put in place that help students directly avoid failing classes and look at increasing student engagement. Those meetings are probably what I'm most proud of, because we have a very tight collaboration with our group across the province. And I think having that relationship and that power of influence, that's probably what I'm most proud of right now.
That's awesome. So you have a pretty unique position right now. What is your favorite part in the capacity that you're working right now about what you're doing?
I think it's being able to bring about change. When I was in my school, I could sort of have change on the students that are there, on the teachers that are there. And when I came to this job, I sort of wanted to help bring about a much larger change. And I knew that to do that, I had to sort of step outside of my comfort level and work on a province-wide or on a statewide arena. And that's what I love about it, is seeing the change happen in the districts and in the schools, and being part of that change and working with those schools. It's just an amazing journey.
Nice.
Now, you've been in education for over 10 years. And so has most of your experience primarily been in high school age students?
So mostly yes, but here I work with French language students. And I think one of the unique things is because we have such high demand for French language teachers, I actually started teaching before I finished my university degree. Mm-hmm. So when I started, I actually started teaching elementary, kindergarten, grade 1, 2. When I started my career, I was in grade 7s and 8s, but the bulk of my career I spent in high school. So I sort of got a chance to play around with all the different groups.
And you speak 4 languages, right?
Cool. I'm up to 4, yes. So first Polish, then English, then French, and I also speak Spanish. That was something I learned, I picked up in high school.
So having that experience in education where you've been in different grade levels at different times in your career, what do you think is probably the hardest part about being in education?
I think it's all the work that we put in and the hours that we put in. I'm never satisfied with what I do. So I'll just finish something and I'll be like, man, I wish I did it this way. Man, I wish I said that. So I'm constantly rebuilding, constantly doing, I'm constantly questioning. And the weekends, the summers, I just work all the time. I read all the time. But it's something I'm so passionate about. So I love to do it. But sometimes I wish I sort of had a job where I could just sit back and relax. But bringing about this change and working with these educators, that's probably what I love. So even though I put in all those hours, I actually love what I do.
Man, it is no fun to sit back and relax. You got to get after it. Right? You have so much energy. That's how Todd and I are. Did you go to school in Canada or Poland?
No, I was born in Canada. I did all my schooling here in Ontario. Started off in French, did my high school in English, then did my university, and then went back into the French system. So that's where I've been for the past 13 years.
So what was it like growing up in Canada, going to school?
It was good. I was probably not in that popular crowd. I loved school. But as I sort of came to be an educator and I wanted to work with students like me, I came about to actually get to know the students that didn't like school and the boys. And slowly, as much as they were challenging, and I almost left teaching in my first year, I sort of stuck through it. And it's actually those kids and those groups that I love working with now. And those challenges are the ones that I want to work with now. So what I didn't like at the beginning is now my complete passion, and I want to sort of turn around education so it could actually be fun. So students, we go back tomorrow officially, and students are like, and teachers, oh, I don't want to go back. I wish I was still on holiday. And I want that to change, like my kids, and say, I want to go to school. So that's what I'm most excited about.
Well, I think it's always really a powerful statement when you hear an educator say that they like working with those kids that are typically more difficult or hard to engage or who really don't like the education system. So I appreciate hearing that from other educators. But I know, obviously, just like the rest of us, you have some of those days that are really rough and you just don't want to get out of bed or don't want to go to work. What do you kind of do to keep yourself in perspective and kick your butt into gear?
I think I always try to put myself in the kids' shoes, in the students' shoes. So even when I don't feel like it, I sort of think about them where they have no choice. Their parents make them go. Legally, they have to go. Like, we have laws where students have to be in school until 18 or until they have their diploma. So I sort of put myself in their shoes. I'm like, well, if they're there and they're sort of putting in the time, if we want to use that expression, I should be there too, and I want to have fun with them. So now maybe I don't see students as much, but directly everything I do, I try and always put myself in the student's shoes. What do they need? And that's probably what drives me the most. And every time I see a school tell me we've changed this or students have reacted that way, that's sort of my my extra pay. That's what helps me get up in the morning.
So last week, Todd and I actually had an opportunity to talk to your first principal. And they told us that when you were a teacher, you used to dance and dress up and actually wear costumes. Like, why do you think it was important to think outside the box like that? We had a little intelligence about you.
I grew up shy. I was shy for most part of my life. And then I sort of, out of high school and into teaching, I sort of started stepping out of my comfort zone. And if I wanted students to sort of step out of their comfort zone, I'm like, well, I have to put myself in that situation. And it was in my first year, I was teaching drama. And I had a bunch of guys who just took it because they had to have an arts credit and they really didn't want to take it. So in order to sort of get them into it, that first year, I sort of spent a day dressed and acting like Napoleon Dynamite. And that's where I actually did his dance that he did in that movie. And the reaction I got from them, and students filmed it, which I'm glad I don't have a copy of, but it's just that engagement because they see that I'm willing to put myself out there, that then they're willing to put themselves out there. And still to this day, I talk to students from 12, 13 years ago, and I keep in touch with them. And I sort of think they need to see us like that to be able to actually put themselves out of their comfort zone and actually learn all those new things that we want them to learn.
Awesome.
Thanks.
So, we always think about, especially from teachers who have quite a bit of experience, of what kind of advice would you give to other teachers who are either just starting in their career or who are going to be starting a new idea that they may want to try out this semester?
First, just try it. Most of the time we'll think about ideas and then we're like, oh, that won't work, or people think it's stupid, and then we sort of shut that idea down. So just risk, do it. And then sort of connect with people. One of the things, I always felt isolated because no one in my group or in my teacher circle really wanted to step out of the box or wanted to dance or wanted to sing or whatever. So I sort of tried to connect with other educators, sort of gave that push. Oh, that's an awesome idea. And every time I went out and I had a chance to have professional development, I talked to my kids about it. So the next day I'd come and sit down. I'm like, oh, I just learned this. And this is what I want to try with you guys. And because I was at a high school level, we were able to have those exchanges. And I think when they heard that, they were willing to sort of try it with me. And I think that's what's important, to just try, because you never know what's going to work. And even if it doesn't, to me, it's a great learning experience. And I always went through it with the kids. So even when that just totally flopped, let's talk about why it flopped, because I want to know why it flopped.
Totally. All right, Roman. Every week, we like our guests to leave a challenge for our viewers. What is your challenge for the week?
Okay, so when I came into my new job, I knew I was coming into a government job. So you're sort of put into a box. And I knew I couldn't necessarily break that box or change that box. That sort of fit in. But I wasn't going to be happy with just fitting in. So what I like to say I do is I stretch the box. So what I want educators to do is think about the one thing that you can do in the weeks to come, and how can you change the box that you're in, whether it be a school, whether it be a district, and it seems rigid and sometimes you seem like everything's sort of prescribed. How can you sort of stretch that box? And I'd love them to share it, because now that I get to work with different districts, I'd love to learn and share it with all the different districts that are out there that I work with.
I love that. Well, Roman, thank you so much for being a guest on our show this week. I know you've been busy at a conference all day, so we appreciate you giving us some time this evening to kind of chat and hear a little bit about you. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure, and I've sort of loved following this Kids Deserve It journey. I sort of call myself the lone Canadian soldier right now, and I'm trying to find disciples, and I've started, and they're following to have that movement here in Canada as well.
Awesome. We want to thank everyone for watching and listening today as well. And if you remember, you can tweet us using the hashtag Kids Deserve It or tagging us in the tweets at Kids Deserve It. We hope you join our Twitter chats on Wednesday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. And our next guest will be Cornelius Minor. Hope everybody has a great evening.